What are your thoughts on the new ownership at Birmingham City? We say new. It's a few years old now.
A few years exactly. Yeah, a few years old, and I think that what it's given every Birmingham City fan is hope, which is what you want for your football club, and optimism, and the understanding that tomorrow can actually be better than today. I think that wasn't always the case under the previous ownership. There was a lot of worry and a lot of anxiety around fans of what direction their football club was headed in, and that whether the people that looked after it and were the stewards of it actually cared about it, or whether there was apathy there, and that can breed throughout a football club. So to have people that are so driven, so single-minded of the direction that this club's taken is just really exciting for everybody in and around the football club. I think fans, staff, players, everyone.
You mentioned the moment when Gary Rowett got sacked. Can you remember the moment when the American owners came in and spoke to the team and to the staffing? Can you remember that?
Yeah, so Tom came and spoke to us. I think it was before the Leeds game when the takeover had finally been done and everything like that. So he came and spoke to everybody. And I don't know if you've ever been in his company, but he's incredibly engaging, incredibly charismatic. You believe everything that's coming out of his mouth. He's just he's the real deal. He's everything that this football club has kind of needed, really. So for him to come in and give a speech to the players and the staff, and you could get a sense of how important it was going to be to him.
And obviously Tom Brady as well. Did you ever build a relationship up with him in terms of developing your skill set as an athlete?
Yeah, so Tom, I think obviously Tom's a really busy man, so he's got a lot going on. I think he's a part owner of Las Vegas Raiders as well, and he's got various businesses, I'm sure. But he's involved. He's given team talks, not right before the game, but he's spoke with the players. He's given us advice of situations that he's found himself in, and given that experience. I mean, he's been at the top level for so long that any little bit of information that he's willing to give, everybody's all ears. And he's not had an easy path either. It's not like he had a straight line to greatness either. He was a 199th pick in the NFL draft. He was potentially going to go undrafted and had to work his way up and go from a third string up to a starter eventually. And so he understands what overcoming challenges is all about. So whenever he speaks, people listen.
What were your thoughts on the documentary that was posted?
Yeah, it seems to be all the rage with a lot of football clubs now, and it's amazing for the commercialisation of the game. It's so important to kind of spread that audience as well. So it's great to see Birmingham City painted in such a good light as well, to show that they're doing things the right way and that they are going somewhere. Yeah,
and obviously with the song UB40. Forever True. Were you involved in that? Am I right in saying
that?
So
we went to do a little bit of recording at one of the studios in Birmingham, and we had a little bit of a play with some of the instruments and everything like that. So it was good.
Did you play a guitar?
I did. Yeah, not sure how well. I don't know how impressed some of the actual musicians were, but they gave me a chance to have a little play, and it was good fun. Yeah, it was a really good day out.
And you mentioned Tom Wagner, and obviously we wish Tom well. Obviously he's going through a few health issues at the moment, but in terms of the stadium, what do you think the future is? Do you think the sky is the limit here with the infrastructure and the ambition that is set out for Birmingham and its future pathway?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question about the ambition that they would say that, the sky is the limit. When you see the plans for the stadium, what it's going to look like, how many people it's going to hold, all of the events that can take place in and around it, and the jobs it's going to create for the city, it's incredible. Again, it's at times you have to pinch yourself to think that is this really happening to our football club?
And the Lukas Jutkiewicz statue, maybe?
It's not for me to decide, I don't think.
Next to the chimney. I've got a couple of quick fire questions before we kind of come to an end. So the first question with the quick fire is, who's the hardest player that you've played against?
Directly, probably have to say John Terry, but in the same game, Cesc Fabregas. Okay. Yeah, he was just incredible to just take the positions he would take up. As a striker, it was probably my job at times to then go onto the sitting midfield player, but impossible to keep up with him. The speed at which he played at, the speed of thought. He was always a couple of steps ahead of everybody. So cool under pressure. Real quality player.
Was that at Burnley in the Premier League?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What's the best stadium you've played at, apart from St Andrews?
Of course, yeah. You nearly called me out there. So apart from St Andrews, I'd have to say I was really impressed with Parkhead and Ibrox as well.
Okay.
The ones up there against the Old Firm teams are always a good atmosphere. And then, St James's Park's great atmosphere as well. Yeah.
Which one do you prefer, Southwark or Rangers?
Oh, that's going to get me in trouble. I think, you got to sit on the fence there. I'll go with Fir Park, Motherwell.
Okay.
There you go.
Fair enough. What's the worst stadium you've maybe played at? Apart from St Andrews.
There's been some tight changing rooms, that's for sure. Yeah, I won't have a go at the stadiums, but some of the changing rooms where you can barely shut the toilet if you need, toilet door, your feet get stuck in there. It's so small the cubicles are. So something like that. Like Brentford's old stadium was really tight before they moved on. Really cool stadium. I liked it. We had the pub on each corner of that. It was a really nice traditional stadium, but they certainly needed to move on, and they've done so really well. But that was pretty tight in that changing room.
Yeah, I remember that stadium. Birmingham played Brentford on a Wednesday, and Clayton Donaldson scored.
Okay.
But he used to play for Brentford.
Yeah,
and it was a real good atmosphere because it was terraces standing in the stand as well.
Yeah, that's right.
But you mentioned dressing room. Didn't the home end in Birmingham, the home dressing room, didn't they have like a pillar in the middle of it? Is it a bit awkward?
Yes, not anymore. Yeah, no? That's been taken out, so that's all sorted now. Yeah, they would have to sort of look around to make sure that it's you that the manager's having a go at or not. No, just kidding. But that's all been taken, so it's a bit more of an open plan one now.
Who's your best mate in football?
Like we spoke beforehand, Michael Morrison's in the area, very, very close with him. The wives are close, the kids are at similar ages, so we spend a lot of time together. A lot of guys from that team, really. I went out to see Max Collins, still playing in France as well. Again, kids are similar ages, so we spent a lot of time together, a lot of shared memories, that sort of thing. So, but it's hard to name one, really.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Aston Villa-Birmingham rivalry? Obviously playing in it, but just being a local in the area, is there any opinion that you've got on it as a whole?
Yeah, the games were red hot atmospheres. The first experience I had with that one was the 1-1 game at St Andrews. I think Gary Gardner scored for Villa. Yeah. David Davis equalised for us, and then took his top off and showed everyone what an unbelievable physique he had. But even the warm up in that game, you could barely hear yourself think. It was just so loud, and it was really, really intense. And played in a few games of those, and hopefully there's more to come soon.
Why was the yellow kit used in the game against Villa? I always thought that Birmingham just played in their home shirt, but the yellow kit. Is there a reason behind that?
Do you know what? No. Do you know that? I was just thinking about the game. So probably should have asked that question, but maybe you should get the kit man on next and ask him. Yeah.
Do you get a sense from the fans when that game's coming up? Do you feel it, or do you have to maybe detach your emotion?
Yeah, you certainly feel it. Certainly, living in the area as well, whenever you see people in and around it, that's the first thing that's on their mind if there's a game like that coming up. But again, being a professional, it sounds boring, but it's always the next game. The next game is the most important. When it comes around to the week of that game, you can feel everything getting a little bit heightened. In terms of keeping your professionalism, it was always make sure that you don't trip up before you get to that game. The next one's the most important.
Did you have any pre-game rituals?
Nothing superstitious. I was never really into that sort of thing. There was nothing that I needed to do that if I didn't, I would panic with. I never wanted to go down that route. There was just one thing that I started to do after I read Richie McCaw's book, the old All Blacks captain, and he just said he liked to have almost like psychological triggers within games and before games, and one of them was just to have whatever it is, have an action that you do that kind of takes you from who you are outside of the game to who you want to be within the game. So it was just like an energy shot that we'd have before we go out to warm up, and it was just a moment where you'd just take it in, have your shot, and then that's the person I want to be outside of football, leaves behind, and then you try and create that personality for who you are on the pitch.
It's interesting how people talk about rituals. Shin pads seem to be quite common.
Right.
I've seen something with Jamie Vardy used to drink Red Bull as well before.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if that might link to what you mentioned with the shot.
Yeah, maybe.
Did you ever have anything with shin pads or kind of making sure that?
No, nothing like that. No, like I say, it was only really that sort of thing. It was more just making sure that there was an intention to get into the right mindset before you went out.
What was your favourite football boots?
I like the old Nike CTR ones. I was gutted when they discontinued them because they were just the comfiest boot ever. I've still actually got a pair. The one that the goal that I scored against Birmingham for Bolton in that game.
Okay.
That pair of boots, the comfiest boots I ever wore, I've actually kept hold of those ones. But for some reason they don't make them anymore, unfortunately.
Did you always wear Nike boots when you played?
No. Kind of went across the board with Puma for a little while. When I was at Coventry, they had a kit supply was Puma, so they would make sure that as many of the boys were wearing their boots as possible. Then Nike for a little bit, Adidas for an occasion, but yeah, generally I was with Nike. Yeah, you're trying to plug certain brands, are you?
No. I'm just always interested. I always like the Predators with the elastic tongue.
Oh yeah, classics. Yeah, they've made a comeback as well, haven't they?
Yeah. But by the way, if anyone's watching and they want to sponsor this podcast, they're more than welcome to do so. Pre-game rituals. Last one then. What is the biggest lesson football has taught you?
The biggest lesson, I would say, resilience is probably the biggest thing. I think understanding that actually, you can make mistakes and you can come back from that, and you can learn from mistakes, and actually is not always a bad thing. That would probably be the biggest thing, and just try and develop your thicker skin.